Number 1. The battery. I guess it's important to know I'm a female before going further into this story. I had a bit of bad luck when I bought a battery for my last car. No more than a month after I bought the battery, the engine head got a crack in it. I couldn't afford to fix it, and honestly, the car was so old that it wouldn't have been worth the money to fix it. I also really didn't need a car, so I wasn't in any hurry to get it replaced. It did bug me, however, that I recently paid $80 for a car battery that couldn't be used. So I decided to put the battery on Craigslist. I didn't get many bites on it though until I lowered it all the way down to $30. It seemed like a waste, but it would have been a bigger waste not to get anything for it. A guy who lived much closer to Chicago than I did answered the ad. He told me he would drive up to the town I lived in to get the battery. I got my multimeter out because I wanted to show the buyer that the battery was in good shape, and then I waited for him to show up. I was nervous about the entire thing because it was so personal. Selling something on eBay, the only thing I had done before, was so impersonal. With eBay, no one ever came to my house. I was just very uncomfortable knowing that somebody was coming to my actual home. It took the guy an awfully long time to get there. I was waiting nearly 2.5 hours for him to make a drive that should have taken less than 40 minutes. When he finally showed up, he gave me the creeps right away. He pulled up in a rickety pickup truck that looked like he'd pulled it straight out of a hillbilly horror flick. And he looked as bad as his truck did. It was impossible for me to tell how old he was, but he was dressed very shoddily and looked and smelled like he hadn't bathed in a year. The moment he saw me, he started giving me the eye. The once-over. You name it, he was giving it to me. And he did not shy away from making it very, very obvious that he was interested. The man walked up and I took out the multimeter because I wanted to show him that the battery was working fine. He told me I didn't have to do that, but I insisted. He made me very, very uncomfortable, and I didn't want to have him have any reason to try coming back. I took the meter and the battery registered as over 12.6 volts, indicating the battery was fine. The entire time, I could see the man paying a lot more attention to me than he was paying to what I was doing. The man then tried to actually talk me down from the $30 I had for the battery. He told me he had driven a long way through traffic to get there, and it had cost him a lot in gas money. I insisted to him that $30 was the absolute lowest I was willing to go because I was already losing money on the sale. That's when he winked at me and actually said to me, maybe I could work the rest of the money off another way. Never before have the words, "I'm not gay, but I'll learn," wanted to come out of my mouth. But I just politely declined and did everything I could to get the guy to leave. Finally, I decided the only way I was going to get away was to simply walk away and see what happened. When I went into the house, the man actually stood outside for several minutes before he got into that disgusting truck and drove off. I was relieved he was gone. I just knew that I would never want to see the creepy guy again. I had at first thought I was being too hard and rather judgmental on the guy based on his looks, but his attitude later changed my opinion. I was not being too hard on him at all. He was a creep. About 2 hours later, my cell phone buzzed. I looked down and there was a notification that I got an email. It was from the guy. It read, "The battery is totally dead. I'm gonna bring it back for a refund. The battery was not dead. He knew it, and I knew it. I realized that the only reason he was claiming that it was had to be because he wanted to come back and see me again. I texted him back and said, "I'm not comfortable with you coming to my house. Besides, you saw the test and the battery worked fine. No refund, and do not come back to my home." I sent the email and waited for a response. I didn't get one. I was relieved because the creep must have realized that his ploy did not work. A few weeks passed by and I pretty much completely forgot about the encounter. I was really craving some ice cream and thought I'd stroll on down to the gas station and get myself an ice cream sandwich. Yeah, it was dark, but I made the walk hundreds of times before and it was not a big deal. I got my ice cream bar and I left the gas station. While I was walking home, I walked along the main road until I got to the entrance to the subdivision that my house was in. I froze when I turned onto the street and saw the old truck that the creep had driven several weeks before. But he wasn't in it. It was parked at the side of the road. It was undoubtedly his truck. I started to turn around and walk back to the store, but when I did, I realized that I didn't know if the man was in front of or behind me. I looked back and forth, freaked out and confused as to what I should do. Finally, I realized I needed to go forward. I cautiously crept past the truck, my eyes darting to each side as I expected something to happen. When I was past the truck, I kept shooting glances behind my back to see if he was following me. I was agitated the entire walk home. I stupidly had not brought my cell phone with me, so I couldn't call anyone and I couldn't use the flashlight. Walking down the street towards my house was the worst part. When I got close to the house, I noticed that something was amiss. I ran up to the house and my front window had been smashed in by something. Freaked out, I ran around to the door, which was still locked. When I went inside, I saw what had been used to break the window. It was the car battery. And there was a note scrawled onto it which read, "I've been watching you every fucking day for 3 weeks, bitch. And I'm gonna get my money back from this dead battery before I rape the shit out of you." Scared to death, I went and grabbed a knife out of the kitchen and then proceeded to call the police. They got there before anything happened, but the truck had already left. I was so stupid for not taking down the license plate, because all I had to track the guy was an email, and that didn't do any good. The police couldn't do anything. That happened about 3 months ago, and I keep wondering what's going to happen, and if I will ever see that man again. While I'm in my house, I keep the kitchen knife with me, just in case.
My last experience on Craigslist was not a very nice one. The last time I used Craigslist to sell something, I had to phone the police because the man kept showing up to my door, asking for other things that I had for sale. I only sold a few items, but he kept hanging around my property. And that's a mistake I made when I gave out my address. I needed to sell some baby clothes since my daughter outgrew them. I stopped using Craigslist and found a new app. I posted them on Offerup and I got a lot of offers, but mostly no-shows or changed minds until one Wednesday, I got a message from someone asking about the clothes. I agreed to meet them somewhere nearby because they were 2 miles away. That's the beauty of this app. You get to see who's close by, and also you get to see a face because you can log in through Facebook. Anyway, I agreed to meet at a Toys R Us store in the parking lot. As I am waiting, I got a message through Offerup. Another good thing, I don't have to give out my phone number. The car that pulled up was not what I expected. There were 5 people stuffed into the car. I expected the woman to get out of the car because that's who I assumed who wanted the clothes. She just sat in the car, staring at me, then looking back to the other people. She did not get out of the car. Instead, it was a buff, 6'5" dude, tatted up, bald, and with a nasty goatee. He walked up to my window and asked if I had the baby clothes. I'm a little woman without any protection. Imagine this guy approaching me. He proceeded to jiggle the door handle of my car, asking me to hurry up and show him. I was terrified. Like, what the fuck? Don't touch my door. He did it again, and I politely told him if he could just step back and give me some room, please. As I opened the trunk of my car to get the baby clothes, the next thing that happened surprised me. I was shoved face down into the trunk of my car. What the fuck? I yelled. The man proceeded to shove me face first into my car trunk, and it felt like someone else was behind me. I heard the rustling of the bags and someone else taking the clothes. I heard the big guy telling whoever was with him to hurry up and go. I yelled as loud as I could for help and tried to get the license plate number. The description of the car was an old Honda from the early 2000s, green with tinted windows. My baby clothes to sell and make a little extra cash was gone. I filed a police report and told them the make and model of this vehicle. I also gave them the Facebook profile of the person who asked about the clothes. When the police followed up with me, they arrested 3 people, including that big ignorant asshole that took my baby clothes. The clothes were never recovered, and I have yet to get back on Offerup. It seems like I never get a break. Please be careful with Offerup. I'm not saying don't use the app, but I had a rough experience. There's a lot of shady shit on there. The good thing is, it's easy to be traced if you sign up through Facebook.
Number 3. The Calculator. I know you go for longer stories, Killer Orange Cat, and mine is short, but I hope you'll read it. This story is pretty weird. I needed a T184 calculator for my college statistics class. The damn things are pretty expensive, so I decided to go ahead and buy one on Craigslist. Looking through the ads, I finally found one that seemed too good to be true. A guy was selling a relatively new T184 for only $40. I immediately emailed the seller and was happy to see the calculator was still up for sale. I asked when I could come and get it, and the seller said, immediately. He gave me his address, and I headed off for his house. The house itself was a bit out of town. I'm in a college town in the middle of a bunch of cornfields. I drove to an old farmhouse sitting alone. It had a nice and big yard, and there were cornfields as far as the eye could see. I drove up the long driveway and didn't see any vehicle. Apprehensively, I got out of the car and walked up to the porch and knocked on the door. I had to knock on it several times, and after I did, the door was finally answered by a guy who looked like he belonged working as a carny rather than living on a farm. He was tall, skinny with pallid skin and dark eyes set back in deep sockets. He looked at me for a few moments and kept rolling his tongue around in his cheek. "I'm here about the calculator," I said. He just looked at me before nodding. He held it up and let me look at it. It looked great. I turned it on and tried it out, and it worked perfectly. I took the money out to buy it. The man took the money, and then acted as if he just remembered something. "I forgot to get the cover. Why don't you come on inside and I'll grab it for you?" That was odd, and I didn't want to go into his house. The guy was creepy, and looking past him into the house, it looked dirty and unkempt. I declined, and the guy insisted. "No reason to stand out in the cold. Come on in so I can find the cover." Cold, I thought. It wasn't remotely cold outside. It was creepy enough being asked into the house for something as simple as a calculator cover, but his excuse just made it worse. "No thanks, I'm okay," I said. "I can just wait here." At first the man just stared at me with his dark eyes. Then he reached out, grabbed the calculator out of my hand, and loudly slammed the door in my face. I was confused again. I had already paid for the calculator, and was he not going to give it to me? I stood there for a few moments, confused and unsure as to what to do, when he suddenly opened the door again. He was holding the calculator with the cover on it. He held it out to me. When I didn't move, he got impatient again and growled at me. "Well, take the damn thing, you paid for it." When I took the calculator out of his hand, he slammed the door in my face. Happy to be out of the conversation with the man and eager to get away from his home, I turned away. As I turned, I saw quickly in the window that he wasn't alone. The man was talking to another guy in the house, and they were arguing about something. I had had enough and ran to my car and left. When I got back to my room, I decided to try my new calculator out. I hoped that the guy hadn't gotten angry at me and broke it. I turned it on. Now, anyone who has used this calculator knows that you can type in letters as well as numbers, and that whatever you put on the screen will come right back on the screen once the calculator is turned on after sleep mode. Well, when I turned the calculator on, there was a message for me. The man must have written it on the calculator when he was, quote, unquote, looking for the cover. And it simply said, "If you had come in, you'd be dead right now. Enjoy your calculator." I really hate getting things on Craigslist.
I decided to browse Offerup and give it a chance because I saw some really awesome stuff under retail. I browsed the beauty section to see who was selling what, such as clothes, makeup accessories, and other cute stuff. I found a seller who was selling some MAC makeup and Urban Decay. These are really expensive brands of makeup, so I was very excited to see I could get MAC lipstick for $10 and the Naked palette for $20. This is where it gets screwed up. I contacted the seller to inquire about the makeup being sold. There was a language barrier because I don't speak Spanish. A few hours later, the user messaged me, texting in fluent English. I asked the user, "Let's meet so I can pick up the makeup, and I have cash ready." No response. Sometimes Offerup can be annoying when people don't answer back or when people waste your time. A few days later, she messaged me asking me directions for a meetup spot. I agreed to meet her at a local Walgreens in my area. We met around 11 a.m. in the morning. She was a short Hispanic woman and didn't look like her profile photo in the app. She told me to sit in the front seat of her car and to look at the makeup. What bothered me at the time was her attitude. She rushed me and whatever. I didn't believe what I was seeing. She had a huge MAC palette for $20 and all kinds of lipsticks. I asked her to wait for me while I went to the ATM in my Walgreens. I took out $50 and got a palette and a few MAC lipsticks. When I got home, I tried on the makeup, and I went out for the evening. I was lucky, or so I thought. After using the makeup for a few weeks, I told my friend about the app and showed her my makeup. My friend gave me some heartbreaking news about the makeup. She told me I was ripped off. I wanted to know how the hell did that happen? She explained to me that the makeup is counterfeit and that MAC never made huge palettes with so many bright, loud colors. The makeup was made in China or sold off of Alibaba and resold for under retail. The lipsticks were counterfeit as well. You're asking, so what's the horror in this? Okay, well, a few weeks of using this makeup, I started to notice a rash developing above my eyelid. It progressively got worse. My face ended up swelling. So did my eyelids. I looked bee-stung. I messaged the user asking why she sold me fake makeup. The bitch started ranting that it was my fault and I was dumb enough to buy it and she would never sell fake makeup. I argued with this girl until she blocked me. I found her Facebook page and told her that I would be calling the police and I wanted my money back. Again, she blocked me and told me to fuck off and that she doesn't need to refund me. While all this mayhem went down, my eyelids became worse. I ended up getting some sort of pink eye and my eyelids were so swollen they completely shut. I was pissed. I reported her on Offerup so many times using another username and phone. Within a few hours, the profile was taken down. I wanted to pursue this bitch in court. This is an ongoing battle because it's still being investigated. My friend advised me that Offerup is not responsible for any damage done by buyers or sellers. Nonetheless, it's a crime to sell counterfeit goods. To the ladies, please do not buy makeup from Offerup claiming to be MAC or any high-end expensive makeup. My eye swelling has gone down, but there's a scar above my lid where I picked at it and pus came out. Please be very careful.
Hello everyone, Killer Orange Cat here. Thank you for watching the whole video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to hit the like button to let me know. If you're not already subscribed to Killer Orange Cat, please feel free to hit the subscribe button to be informed of new content. I want to first apologize for my lengthy absence this week. I caught a pretty nasty cold and have been coughing my lungs up the past few days, and my voice has sounded awful. And that's the worst thing about narrating. If your voice goes, there is very little you can do. Fortunately, although I'm still coughing, and you can probably tell my voice makes me sound like I'm still a bit stuffed up, my voice has improved enough for me to go ahead and record. I want to thank Fourth Stories for suggesting this collaboration and for doing such a good job on it. Please visit her page and consider subscribing. A link is included both here and in the description. It was a pleasure working with her. Since my voice is doing better, I'm going to attempt to do some extra videos in the next week or so to make up for my absence. I also have another collaboration with my friend Blue Spooky, and a paranormal collaboration with Hero to Villain coming up. I hope you'll enjoy those when they come out. In the meantime, all I have left to say is, remember to check in your closet and check under your bed, because you never know where a killer orange cat is hiding. Good night.